To God be the glory.
Hello and welcome back to our study of the book of Genesis. Now we're in chapter 32. We had made it down through verse 8, and so we'll start at verse 9 in our lesson today. It's very interesting here. The point in time which we find ourselves in the study is that Jacob is returning home, and Esau is ready to meet him. Now Jacob doesn't know at this point whether this is going to be a friendly meeting or not. And so he is making preparation just in case Esau is still angry about the deception that had taken place before Jacob left. So let's start at verse 9 and notice what takes place. Then Jacob said, O God of my father Abraham and God of my father Isaac, the Lord who said to me, return to your country and to your family, and I will deal well with you. I am not worthy of the least of all the mercies and of all the truth which you have shown your servant, for I crossed over this Jordan with my staff, and now I have become two companies. Deliver me, I pray, from the hand of my brother, from the hand of Esau, for I fear him, lest he come and attack me, and the mother with the children. For you said, I will surely treat you well, and make your descendants as the sand of the sea, which cannot be numbered for multitude. Now, Jacob is remembering the promise that God has made to him, and he's relying on that promise and thinking, okay, you told me I need to come home, I need to return to my family. Okay, I'm ready to do that, and I hope all things go well. I hope you will remember me. We see the humility of Jacob as he reaches out to God concerning this meeting that's about to take place, wanting all things to go well. Now, notice next in verse 13, so he lodged there that same night and took what came to his hand as a present for Esau his brother, 200 female goats and 20 male goats, 200 ewes and 20 rams, 30 milk camels with their colts, 40 cows and 10 bulls, 20 female donkeys and 10 foals. Notice what he does. Then he delivered them to the hand of his servants. Every drove by itself, and said to his servants, pass over before me, and put some distance between successive droves. And so they're going to be these gifts given to his brother Esau, and they're going to come in waves in a way, in droves, that there's going to be a few that are going to come, and then more, and then more. And you can see him trying to soften up the heart of his brother by these gifts that are going to be sent to him. Verse 17, and he commanded the first one, saying, when Esau my brother meets you and asks you, saying, to whom do you belong, and where are you going? Whose are these in front of you? Then you will say, they are your servants Jacob's. It is a present sent to my lord Esau. And behold, he also is behind us. So he commanded the second and the third and all who followed the drove, saying, in this manner you shall speak to Esau when you find him. And so this is what you're supposed to say each time you meet up with my brother Esau. Verse 20, and also say, behold, your servant Jacob is behind us. For he said, I will appease him with the present that goes before me. And afterward I will see his face, perhaps he will accept me. So the present went on over before him, but he himself lodged that night in the camp. And so notice the language that is used there. My servant Jacob, he's putting himself in a role of humility before his brother, saying, I hope you will accept these presents. And so the messengers are taking these presents to Esau, and with each present, with each group of presents that come, perhaps he will be more receptive to his brother during this meeting. You see, Jacob still doesn't know how this meeting is going to go. He doesn't know if it will be favorable or not. And so obviously he's concerned about that. He knows about his brother Esau and the men that he has with him, that this could turn into a battle of sorts. Verse 22. And he arose that night and took his 2 wives and his 2 female servants and his 11 sons and crossed over the ford of Jabbok. He took them and sent them over the brook and sent over what he had. Then Jacob was left alone. Now, notice this unusual event that occurs. Here he sent his family ahead of him. He's by himself. He's left alone. In verse 24, Jacob was left alone, and a man wrestled with him until the breaking of day. Well, what is this man that wrestles with him? Verse 25. Now when he saw that he did not prevail against him, he touched the socket of his hip, and the socket of Jacob's hip was out of joint as he wrestled with him. And he said, Let me go, for the day breaks. But he said, I will not let you go unless you bless me. So he said to him, What is your name? And he said, Jacob. And he said, Your name shall no longer be called Jacob, but Israel. For you have struggled with God and with men and have prevailed. Then Jacob asked, saying, Tell me your name, I pray. And he says, Why is it that you ask about my name? And he blessed him there. All right, now let's pause there for a moment, because this unusual circumstance that takes place, here Jacob wrestles with this man, wrestles till the break of day, eventually is able to overcome. And if this is all that we had concerning this text, we wouldn't know much, would we? But luckily, there's another passage we can look at that gives us some additional information. In the book of Hosea chapter 12, I want you to look at this. Hosea chapter 12, starting with verse 2, and it says, The Lord also brings a charge against Judah, and will punish Jacob according to his ways, according to his deeds. He will recompense him. He took his brother by the heel in the womb, and in his strength, notice this, he struggled with God. Yes, he struggled with the angel and prevailed. He wept and sought favor from him. He found him in Bethel, and there he spoke to us. That is the Lord God of hosts. The Lord is his memorable name. And so Jacob wrestles with Jehovah's angel, messenger. He's wrestling with God, is what Hosea is telling us. And he wrestled with the man, but the man, of course, is only in the form of a man, and this is wrestling with God. And in that struggle, perhaps it is portraying that life that he has gone through. And this struggle, yes, with those around him, but also within himself. That he has been one who has been a deceiver, one who has lied to his brother. And so these things have taken place, but now his name has been changed to Israel. He's a different man now. He has matured, he has grown, and we see this by how he is treating Esau, that he is sending these presents to him so that they would have a good meeting when he gets there. He wants his brother to know that he has changed. And so the name has been changed to Israel. Before, his name was Jacob, the heel catcher, the deceiver, the supplanter. But now it's changed to Israel. Now, we don't know exactly the meaning of that name, but it either means he will rule as God, he has seen God, or wrestled with God. And so it's talking about that struggle that he had, and overcoming that and maturing from it indeed. And so he says, what is your name? And he says, why are you asking me this? And so he blessed him there. Verse 30, so Jacob called the name of the place Peniel, for I have seen God face to face, and my life is preserved. Just as he crossed over Peniel, the sun rose on him, and he limped on his hip. Therefore, to this day, the children of Israel do not eat the muscle that shrank, which is on the hip socket, because he touched the socket of Jacob's hip in the muscle that shrank. And so the sinew in the thigh of Jacob, that shank, he suffered physically. And now Israel, we see Jacob changed to Israel, is limping. But it also shows his dependence upon Jehovah. And here is a constant reminder that yes, he has wrestled with God, that it has been a struggle all of his life, but now he understands how he has to depend upon God. And from this, we also see that there's a superstition that the Jews did not eat of an animal's sinew coming from that same area that corresponds to Jacob's thigh. And that would continue from this day. This happens forward. Now, let's go to chapter 33, and here we'll get to see the reconciliation with Esau. How is this meeting going to go? All right, so chapter 33, verse 1. Now Jacob lifted his eyes and looked, and there Esau was coming, and with him were 400 men. So he divided the children among Leah, Rachel, and the 2 maidservants, and he put the maidservants and their children in front, Leah and her children behind, and Rachel and Joseph last. And then he crossed over before them and bowed himself to the ground 7 times until he came near to his brother. And so he sees Esau and these 400 men coming towards him, and so he rearranges his family in an order where perhaps he'll be able to escape with some in case an attack is made. And so he has the handmaidens and their children first, and that's in that first group, and then Leah and her children next, and then Rachel, of course, the one who is so dear to him, and Joseph last. And so you can see the priority that he places on each. And he has those that he dearly loves closest to him, thinking that, okay, maybe I can escape with them if the rest are attacked. But then, notice Jacob leads them all, comes forward, bows down. He's showing his humility, showing that he is willing to be a servant, as it were. And so he's making himself vulnerable to his brother. He crossed over before them and bowed himself to the ground. Look at verse 4. But Esau ran to meet him and embraced him and fell on his neck and kissed him, and they wept. What a wonderful meeting is this. Growth has taken place in Jacob, Israel now, and of course we see growth taking place in Esau, that he's not going to seek vengeance, that he embraces him, he kisses him, they weep together, and it is a time of great joy that they see each other once again. In verse 5, and he lifted his eyes and saw the women and the children and said, "Who are these with you?" So he said, "The children of whom God has graciously given your servant." You know, when he left, it was just him. He had nothing, and now he is coming back with family and prosperity. And so his lot in life has changed quite a bit, as we see here. Verse 6, then the maidservants came near, they and their children, and they bowed down. And Leah also came near with her children, and they bowed down, a bow of respect. Afterward, Joseph and Rachel came near, and they bowed down. And then Esau said, "What do you mean by all this company which I met?" And he said, "These are to find favor in the sight of my Lord," calling him Lord out of respect. And so I did these things, I sent these gifts to you, and I have come to you in such a way because I wanted to find your favor. You see, he's seeking forgiveness. He had mistreated his brother, and he's hoping that he will forgive him and accept him back. Verse 9, but Esau said, "I have enough, my brother. Keep what you have for yourself." And so these gifts that are given, he says, I don't need those. I have prosperity as well. You see, God had blessed Esau also. And Jacob said, "No, please, if I have now found favor in your sight, then receive my present from my hand, inasmuch as I have seen your face, as though I had seen the face of God, and you were pleased with me. And so he says, please take this gift. I'm so overjoyed by your reaction, and that I want us to have favor one with another. Verse 11, please take my blessing that is brought to you, because God has dealt graciously with me, and because I have enough. So he urged him, and he took it. And so peace is restored between the two brothers. And so now they have both grown, they have both matured in their faith, and so we see their friendship, their closeness, that kindred spirit being there once again. Verse 12, then Esau said, let us take our journey, let us go, and I will go before you. But Jacob said to him, my Lord knows that the children are weak, and the flocks and the herds which are nursing are with me. And if the men should drive them hard one day, all the flock will die. Please let my Lord go on ahead before his servant, and I will lead on slowly at a pace where the livestock that go before me and the children are able to endure until I come to my Lord in Seir. And so Jacob realizes that he needs to go slower because of the company that's with him, the group, such as the young animals and also the children, that he needs to go at a slower pace. And so he doesn't want to slow down his brother. He's telling Esau, you go ahead, you go on back, and I'll meet you back at Seir, but let me return in a slower pace, and not wanting any misunderstanding concerning that. Verse 15, and Esau said, now let me leave with you some of the people who are with me. But he said, what need is there? Let me find favor in the sight of my Lord. So Esau returned that day on his way to Seir, and Jacob journeyed to Succoth, built himself a house, and made booths for his livestock. Therefore the name of the place is called Succoth. Now it's interesting here that he says, well, let me leave some to help you to guard. But what does he say? Let me find favor in the sight of my Lord, in the last part of verse 15. You see what's going on here? More and more trust in the Lord is seen in the life of Jacob. Now he's changed. He's different. He's Israel. He has wrestled with God. He has overcome. And now he is more faithful and stronger and trusting in God to protect him, just as had been promised. And so we see quite a bit of growth in this character. Let's finish the chapter, verse 18. Then Jacob came safely to the city of Shechem, which is in the land of Canaan, when he came from Padan Aram, and he pitched his tent before the city. And he bought the parcel of land where he had pitched his tent from the children of Hamor, Shechem's father, for 100 pieces of money. And then he erected an altar there and called it El Elo Israel. And so there he finds his place where he is going to live. And so in our outline, you'll see this listed as Jacob's return to the promised land. And that is, of course, chapter 33, 16 through chapter 35, 20. And you'll see the settlement of Canaan here in this verses 16 through 20 that we've looked at here. And so he calls the place, this name, El Elohe Israel, which literally means a mighty God is the God of Israel. And you see that statement, that pronouncement, and really a pronouncement of Jacob's faith and the growth that has taken place. A mighty God is the God of Israel. Now, when we get to chapter 34, we're going to see a bit of a shift as we talk about Dinah. Now, of course, we remember Dinah when we were going through the lineage. We were talking about the sons, but we also remember there was a daughter, and her name was Dinah. We're going to notice what happens with her. Starting in verse 34, it says, Now Dinah, the daughter of Leah, whom she had borne to Jacob, went out to see the daughters of the land. And when Shechem, the son of Hamor, the Hivite, prince of the country, saw her, he took her and lay with her and violated her. His soul was strongly attracted to Dinah, the daughter of Jacob, and he loved the young woman and spoke kindly to the young woman. So Shechem spoke to his father Hamor, saying, "Give me this young woman as a wife." And Jacob heard that he had defiled Dinah his daughter, and now his sons were with his livestock in the field. So Jacob held his peace until they came. And then Hamor, the father of Shechem, went out to Jacob to speak with him. And the sons of Jacob came in from the field when they heard it, and the men were grieved and very angry because he had done a disgraceful thing in Israel by lying with Jacob's daughter, a thing which ought not to have been done. And so the whole family is hearing about this. We see their reaction, their anger, understandably, the anger for what has taken place. It seems that Shechem here actually wants Dinah to be his wife. And so he goes out to Israel to secure her from him, and so that they can be one people as well. He wants this to bring the two together in this way. Notice this, verse 8. But Hamor spoke with them, saying, "The soul of my son Shechem longs for your daughter. Please give her to him as a wife, and make marriages with us. Give your daughters to us, and the land shall be before you. Dwell and trade in it, and acquire possessions for yourselves in it." And then Shechem said to her father and her brothers, "Let me find favor in your eyes, and whatever you say to me I will give. Ask me ever so much dowry and gift, and I will give according to what you say to me. But give me the young woman as a wife." Now understand, here they are wanting to make some kind of agreement with them, some kind of treaty, and also to intermarry with them and to become one people. Well, this is a problem. These are not followers of Jehovah God, and this is going to create strife, of course, with the people. And so how can the children of Israel have connection with these people of the land? And so they're not pleased with this at all. Even though here they are seeking to make some kind of agreement with them, it should not be so. But notice what happens, how the brothers respond. Verse 13, "But the sons of Jacob answered Shechem and Hamor his father, and spoke deceitfully, because he had defiled Dinah their sister. And they said to them, We cannot do this thing to give our sister to one who is uncircumcised, for that would be a reproach to us. But on this condition we will consent to you." And so here's the deception. "If you will become as we are, if every male of you is circumcised, then we will give our daughters to you, and we will take your daughters to us, and we will dwell with you, and we will become one people. But if you will not heed us and be circumcised, then we will take our daughter and be gone." And so the deception is, okay, sure, yeah, we can become one people, but you have to become like us. You have to be circumcised and become part of this covenant. Well, they were not part of this covenant with God. This was not right, and this was not according to God's will. So in their deception, they're saying you have to be circumcised. In verse 18, "And their words pleased Hamor and Shechem, Hamor's son. So the young man did not delay to do the thing, because he delighted in Jacob's daughter. He was more honorable than all the household of his father. And Hamor and Shechem, his son, came to the gate of their city and spoke with the men of their city, saying," and so now they're going to tell the men of their city what they have to do in order to have this agreement with the children of Israel. He says in verse 21, "These men are at peace with us. Therefore, let them dwell in the land and trade in it, for indeed the land is large enough for them. Let us make their daughters to us as wives, and let us give them our daughters. Only on this condition will the men consent to dwell with us, to be one people, if every male among us is circumcised as they are circumcised." And so now they're told the condition that is required. Verse 23, "Will not their livestock, their property, and every animal of theirs be ours? Only let us consent to them, and they will dwell with us. And so they're trying to sell this on the idea of the great prosperity that it's going to bring to their people. He says, okay, we need to be one with them. They have much and we can have much if we simply take them in and do this. Verse 24, and all who went out to the gate of this city heeded Hamor and Shechem his son. Every male was circumcised, all who went out of the gate of his city. And so the people agreed, and the men says, yes, okay, we'll do that, and we'll be circumcised, and then we can be one with these people. Of course, they could not be one, and actually this was just a trick anyway. There was no opportunity for them to have peace with the sons of Israel. Verse 25, now it came to pass on the third day when they were in pain, the two of the sons of Jacob, Simeon and Levi, Dinah's brothers, each took his sword and came boldly upon the city and killed all the males. And they killed Hamor and Shechem his son with the edge of the sword. And they took Dinah from Shechem's house, and they went out. And the sons of Jacob came upon the slain and plundered the city, because their sister had been defiled. They took their sheep, their oxen, and their donkeys, what was in the city and what was in the field, and all of their wealth. And all their little ones and their wives they took captive, and they plundered even all that was in their houses. And then Jacob said to Simeon and Levi, You have troubled me by making me obnoxious among the inhabitants of the land, among the Canaanites and the Perizzites. And since I am few in number, they will gather themselves together against me and kill me. I shall be destroyed, my household and I. But they said, Should he treat our sister like a harlot? And so they tried to justify their actions by saying that, by how they treated our sister Dinah, they are deserving of that kind of punishment. But what is Jacob worried about? He says, You have troubled me, or in other words, you have brought trouble upon me. He's worried that now these people of the land, their various tribes, they're going to come together and they're going to attack him and kill him. He is fewer in number than all of them if they would be joined together. But it seems that Simeon and Levi, they don't care about that. And so they simply say, well, it's to be done because of our sister and how she was treated. Yes, she was treated horribly so. And maybe definitely punishment should have happened. But what they did was not right. And a matter of fact, the last words on this matter were made by Jacob on his deathbed, when he brings all of his sons before his deathbed, and he talks to them about the things that each son had done. And in this case, when you look at Genesis chapter 49, and I know eventually we'll get there, but let's go ahead and just see what he's going to say about these sons and what they did. In Genesis 49, verses 5 through 7, he said, Simeon and Levi are brothers, instruments of cruelty are in their dwelling place. Let not my soul enter their council. Let not my honor be united to their assembly. For in their anger they slew a man, and in their self-will they hamstrung an ox. Cursed be their anger, for it is fierce, and their wrath, for it is cruel. I will divide them in Jacob and scatter them in Israel. So at that point, we see the punishment that's going to come to Simeon and Levi because of what they did and how cruel it was at this time. Now, we'll have to stop there because our time is up, but we will begin in chapter 35 next time. And if you'll notice in our outline, this falls down to the last events of Jacob's history. And this is chapter 35, verses 1 through 20. And so we'll see the information concerning that. The end of Jacob, of course, his name has now been changed to Israel. And we'll see that in the scriptures. At times, he'll be called Jacob still, and at times he'll be called Israel. And I don't know if there's any significance of the different uses, but perhaps from the context, it's emphasizing different aspects concerning his character. but we'll certainly see the last events of his life when we get to our next study. Appreciate so much your attention. We'll see you then next time.